the redeemed of the Lord say so, because the world needs to know. Let the redeemed of the Lord say so, because the world needs to know. Let the redeemed of the Lord say so, because the world needs to know. Let the redeemed of the Lord say so, because the world needs to know.
Welcome to Say So, where we talk about it, whatever it is, because what you do not know can hurt you or someone that you know and love. So let's get to the root. For today's episode of Say So, we are going to embark on a new journey of a series entitled Beauty-4-Ashes. It seems like a pretty good deal to be able to exchange beauty for ashes, right? And also, as you can see, I have on not a stitch of makeup. This would also piggyback on a section of the show that I started in 2022. It was entitled Transparently Me. And actually, the Lord gave it to me the end of 2023. And I am not sure exactly what's going to come up and come out and come forth and what's going to be laid on the table. So I'll keep it 100 with you. I'm a little nervous about this here series. I know that a part of it, I am going to share my personal testimony and story of survival with my hair journey. So let's get right into it. I'm going to go ahead and tell you about my personal hair story. Okay? So there are some things that I learned. There are some things that I wish I had learned. Now, I learned very early on, I'm assuming, that I was tender-headed. Okay? All right. I learned that I have, and the tender-headedness is laughable now, but at the time it probably was not. I spoke with somebody maybe 2 to 3 weeks ago, and they said that they were looking for a comb. They couldn't find a comb, and they used a fork to comb their hair. Now, I thought this was, cruel and unusual punishment, but apparently it's a thing because this is 2024, okay? It was this year. But when I was younger, I had forks used to comb my hair. And think about that. When you tenderize meat, don't you just like poke it and stab it and stuff? You got to think about the difference of what comprises a comb versus a fork. Steel, metal versus plastic. Now, that plastic is very hard and sometimes almost unbreakable, but it's a different substance that it's made up of. So a laughable thing, that's how you tenderize meat. So maybe that's why I was daggone tender-headed. But I learned that very early on. I'm tender-headed. I learned that I have coarse and spongy hair. And I heard that when somebody was doing my hair, she said that my hair is very coarse. She said my hair is very spongy. And that just basically means when you think about a sponge kind of sucks up stuff. So my hair would like suck up products. Certain products would do absolutely nothing for my hair. And I learned that my hair was thin. I learned that my hair was not long. And I learned that my hair changed colors in the sun. Like at one point, when I was younger, when I would go out in the sun, even the hairs on my arms would turn like a light sandy brown color. And like the hairs around my edges and even my hair. Now, my entire head would not turn that color, but it would, like my hair would turn brown in the sun and it would remain, brown during the summer months or what have you. All right, so I have a picture of myself. The youngest picture that I have of me is when I was approximately a year and a half. All right, so it was taken by my mom's first cousin. And you can just tell, and I'm assuming these are with adult eyes that I'm looking back, but I have a hood on. But it's like the hood is halfway covering on this side and it's not covering on this side. So that's twofold. I can see that my hair was not combed because you can see the little, we call it, I'm going to say natural hair. But people call it nappy, they call it kinky, they call it curly or what have you. And I'm assuming they put the hood on my head to take the picture because my hair was not becoming at that moment. I was a year and a half, like I said. And just by the way it's on there, you can just tell it was just placed on there. It wasn't like I had it on the entire time or anything like that. It was like they just hey, let me take a picture of the baby. And they just put the hood on my head to take the picture. I had a hood on because my hair was peasy or nappy. That's another thing that they would call it, peas, because peas are round like your hair tends to be when it separates. So basically, due to the turbulence when I was younger, I don't remember a whole lot of hairstyles. The most I remember getting my hair done is when I started going to school. Now, I remember one day in particular, I believe they did do my hair. I was staying with some people that weren't our family or what have you for a time. And the oldest daughter, she had, I think she even got me dressed and everything. It was like they was playing, like I was a life-size doll or something. It was she and her friend at the time, and they were neighbors. They lived right next door to one another or what have you. So they dressed me up or whatever and was saying how pretty and how cute I was. And both of them wanted me to be their little sister. So the girl who I was living with temporarily at the time, she locked me and herself in the bathroom because the other girl wanted me to be her sister or what have you. And, she was trying to keep me away from her or whatever. I think they had done my hair that day and just kind of put my clothes on and, like I said, a life-size doll. So I do remember that time. And I was probably 3 or 4 years old then. I remember getting my hair done for kindergarten, definitely. Now, what I noticed when I looked for pictures, I didn't have a lot of them where my hair was natural. I had a few and different ages and stages, but of course I had more where I had hair added in. It wasn't my hair, it was a different color. It was, just not mine, not naturally mine. It didn't grow from my scalp or what have you. Also remember getting my hair done for birthdays, for Easter, for weddings, for funerals, just stuff like that. Probably family reunions, stuff where you're going to see people, what have you. I remember getting my hair done for those occasions. Another thing that I remember is being tenderheaded to the point where I would move and cry when I'm getting my hair done or what have you. I remember my scalp being on fire after I would get my hair done. And that's probably because the rubber bands pulling and the twists, they twisting it as tight as they can to try to make it look as long as possible. Even having to put the bow clamps on it. You have to whirl it around 2 or 3 times to clamp it for the clamp to have enough hair to stay on. For me anyway, this is my testimony, because my hair was thin. So at the ends, if you didn't wrap it around the clamp before you clamped it, it would slide right off. What I do remember, it was probably the first day of kindergarten. What I remember is seeing other little girls and then noticing their hair length and their hair type and probably internally comparing like, oh, my hair ain't like that, or my bang way up here and her bang like way about to cover her eyes, or her twist or her braids are way down here or down her back and mine is not. The clamps or the stuff that the ribbons or what have you that she uses on her hair is so much bigger than mine or whatever. So that's just something I remember about the hair journey as well. I remember limited hairstyles due to the length of my hair, right? Like I never wore beads or nothing like that. With beads, they braid your hair and then it hangs and they typically put the beads on the end of it or what have you. So and when they braid your hair, if it don't hang, it gonna look kind of crazy to have a bead way up here, because your hair stopped right there. And then you have to have enough hair to get the bead to stay, because sometimes they'll use rubber bands or other means. They used to use aluminum foil at the end or whatever to keep the beads on or what have you. I remember going from natural to a curl to a perm. Okay, not in the same day or what have you. So of course, you're a kid, you're natural. Okay, and my kindergarten year, I was natural. I think I got a curl around 3rd grade, maybe around 8 years old, and then I had a curl for I think about 2 years, about 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade. And then before I went to middle school, I got a perm. Now all of these was do it yourself. My aunt that raised me would do our hair. She was good at it too, so that was a blessing. So yeah, now I was natural from pretty much birth to 2nd grade. And then in middle school, like I said, 3rd to 5th, I got a curl. And then I had a perm. Shoot, I'm going to say from middle school until adulthood, I had perms. I became natural again in 2011 from having a perm. And what I did was I got braids and then I just kind of let the natural hair grow in or what have you. And realistically speaking, my hair is much more thick in its natural state. And so when they were saying my hair was thin, that's when it was permed or what have you. But in its natural state, it's really thick. Like when I had locks, that was the most healthy that my hair was and the fullest and all of that. I remember being picked on by a classmate because I had on a curl and he hurt my feelings. And his name was Garjay. And he was one of the popular boys or what have you. And this was my first year at this school. I went to Forest Park Elementary. And this was my first year at this school. I had gone to Kernersville Elementary from second grade to fourth grade. And I was at Old Town Elementary from kindergarten to first grade. So he was picking on me. He was calling me oil spot because a lot of the other girls had perms and stuff like that. And I didn't. And, it was easy. It was something I could do myself. I knew how to put the activator on and spray or whatever and get on to the bus stop. So anyway, yeah, so I was crying and everything in class, and he picked on me, and it was like, I don't know if it was near the end of the year or what have you. But I do remember that the next year, going into middle school, I guess it was the Lord that spoke to my aunt or whatever, because I never said that I wanted my hair permed, I wanted to change or whatever. But she probably felt, the older I'm getting, I need to get perms like the other girls or what have you. So I did get a perm in middle school, and I was excited. You couldn't tell me a doggone thing because I didn't have a Jerry curl no more. And redemption, if you will, the same one that picked on me in fifth grade in college was trying to holler at me, And I reminded him of that situation, and he apologized. Praise report. Then, getting your hair done, you feel pretty, you feel better, you feel good about yourself. I can remember having braids with gold clips in them. I can remember different hairdos, adding a little color and stuff. So mom was, like I said, really good at doing hair. She would braid. I remember one style in particular. She braided all of our hair up, and then we had some extensions, and it was like colorful curls that came down in the front, and we would have like a brown one here and there, just a little bit of color. And we added that. That was probably high school, I'm thinking, with a little bit of color. I remember when I was 15, when I got my first extensions with glue. Okay, all right. And I think it was Ocean Waves, where, of course, they glue the hair in, and then they get the gel and all that stuff, and they make the waves with the combs and everything. Then you have to sit under the dryer and all that good stuff. So I started doing my own hair, gluing in wefts of hair and stuff like that. So when I was 15, actually, what I had was, back then, the fans was real popular. So I had a bang that went here or what have you. And it was my hair, and it was pretty long. And then I had a fan ponytail at the top. So the fan ponytail literally go like this, like a fan. And then in the back, I had parted it in the back and added a little bit of hair for length or what have you. I had a little boyfriend at the time and everything. I actually took a picture that day. We took a picture together. I was cute, honey, because anyway, 15, I started doing my own or adding extensions or what have you. And I remember for my hair in particular, one side was longer and fuller than the other one. This was the full side, and this side wasn't quite. And in so much that, like I said, when you part your hair and then you curl it under, either I wouldn't be able to curl it all the way on this side, or I would have to use a smaller curling iron to make it look like this one did. So this one was more bent than this one, but for lengthwise, I needed this one to be a little longer, a little more straight, and I would just bend it at the ends to kind of make it coincide or look as close as possible, right? We used to have all different kinds of curlers, small, medium, and large, depending on what you were going for. You would use the curler that you needed. I remember us having curl wax. I mean, just think about it. You putting wax, like basically grease, to make your hair shiny. It's smoking and sizzling and all this stuff. And we used to use curl wax. We used to use grease. I forgot the name of it. And like I said, the curlers would be in whatever size you needed them, depending on how long your hair was. I also remember being burnt by them there curling irons, okay? Depending on what style you getting, okay? Some of the most common places I was burnt was my forehead. Like if you're doing a bang and you pulling it down, let's say your hair a little thin on the ends and it kind of slide down, and then you just get burnt. Your neck or your arm. And I'm trying to figure out where you burn your arm. I know I got burnt on my arms a couple of times, and it might have just been the curlers were like you put them on a dresser or something and then walk past or forget or something. But I do recall getting burnt on the arm a few times. Or they fall on your arm. God, no. You using them and they fall on your neck or your arm or something. That was no joke. I remember certain styles were asymmetrical, like a bob. So you would have a short side and a long side on the bob. Okay? That was real popular. You know what? Salt and Pepper, I think the ones that started that. And what happened was I saw an interview and she said that like it was like a hair mess up or something where her hair was just like really damaged on one side And they had to cut it that high, and yet she wanted some length, so she started that asymmetrical bob. And when I tell you that took off, that's when we used to wear the big gold earrings and stuff. Now, I also remember the wraps. We used to have where you put the setting lotion on it, and you comb your hair around, and then you sit up under the dryer, then you comb it down, and it automatically just kind of frames your face, and it's got a natural bend to it. And when it's time to go to bed, you have to wrap that back up and everything. And it does the same thing. Now, that worked best when you had a fresh perm. Now, when you didn't have a fresh perm and it was kind of puckering up here and it was kind of getting a little fuzzy and you had that new growth, it didn't work so well. It didn't look as well. It wouldn't lay like it would when you had a fresh perm, right? Let's see what else. I remember ponytails, like I said, the fan ponytail. I remember Afro puffs. I remember stacks. So that's when you would have your hair layered. Some people had layered stacks, and you would curl it a certain way, and then you would get one of them combs and you would comb it and like stack it on top of each other so it would rise. Then I remember crochets. I remember the French roll. That was really popular because that was a style you could keep for a while because they used so much gel and so much pump it up, spritz and stuff, that you could sleep on it and you'll be straight. Like your French roll wasn't going nowhere. They used those bobby pins, the open ones, and I didn't know this either. I was thinking people had all this hair, and then they was stuffing them French rolls, and that wasn't all they hair. But anyway, I remember certain styles you would have to use mousse if it was a curly style or something where you needed the hair to look wet. Then you would use mousse on it. I remember using that eco gel. It was the black container with the white writing with the white top on it. That was the bomb right there. Now, like I told you, my hair was spongy, so it would just suck up certain products. It didn't suck up that product. That laid them edges and everything for them ponytails. I remember setting lotion, like I talked about with the wrap. I remember flat irons, straightening your hair out and everything. I remember pressing combs. Jesus. Just think of the things we do to our hair. You putting grease on your hair, right? And then you putting heat on your hair. Like you frying chicken or something. And it's popping and you can smell your hair burning, and just the heat that's coming from your hair is so hot it about to burn you and stuff. It's like torture because you can't move, because if you move, like I tell you, you thought them curling irons was something, you get burnt with one of them hot combs or pressing irons, okay? Now that's woo and everything. And you can feel the heat on your neck, and especially when they had to get the edges and stuff. It just torture. The things we did. The things we do. I learned in the beauty shop, they would say beauty is pain. It got to be all this stuff we going through just to be beautiful. Think about a perm. They did a documentary, I think it was Good Hair, where they say a perm, the chemicals in a perm is so powerful that it will eat through a soda can if you leave it in there long enough. We sitting up here putting this on our scalp, which is skin. And every time I got a perm, I would always have scabs because I was tender-headed, right? And I had sensitive skin. And then sometimes you scratch, and then you opening your pores up, and then you put that perm, that chemical on there, it go right in that pore what you done opened up, and it just burns it. And the thing about a perm, you had to let it sit. So you got to go through all of this pain for at least about 10, 20 minutes, or else you rinse it out too early, your hair not straight. Now you looking crazy, So you got to suffer through it until you can rinse it out and your hair straight. Because you can tell when your hair straight and when it's not. And then they had to work it in to get it straight quicker. And that's still your scalp is already open, your pores, and you're getting burnt. And then they pushing it on there and combing it through, trying to make your hair straight. But your scalp is suffering. Your scalp is on flame. I know y'all remember. I know y'all know what I'm talking about. So then we also had the hair dryers. You got to sit up under the dryer. Other popular styles or fads that came and went or could still be here. Stuff twists, micro braids, twists in general. Twists with your real hair, or 2-strand twists, box braids, cornrows. I don't think cornrows ever going out of style. as well as Dominican blowouts. That was a real popular thing. And I'm not sure what they did or how they blew people hair out, but I know it had body, it was flowy, it was fluffy, and all that stuff. But I heard it was a lot of heat. I'm not sure exactly what or how they did it. Sew-ins, 27 pieces. And some of the products that I recall that once again were fads as well, came and went, or may still be applicable. Cream of Nature was a brand just for me, for the little girls. Now for me, it wasn't just for me because it wouldn't straighten my hair. You know, I told you I had a unique situation. What else? They started coming out with the stuff with the color change shampoo. And I'm assuming that's because people's hair was getting burnt out, because once again, that stuff can burn through cans. So it would color change to make sure that you got all of the residue of the perm out. So you have to keep on washing until there was no more color. Thank God for it. And it must have happened after, or the girl who did my hair that time when I wanted my hair cut, she left the perm in the back. And when I tell you she had already washed my hair and conditioned it, she was getting ready to go style it or put me under the dryer. And then I sat up from the wash bowl and she realized I still had perm back there. When I tell you that burned my hair, a chemical burn like that, burned my hair really bad. It has never fully recovered from that. And that was in my 20s. That's been several years ago, a few decades. But anyway, TCB was popular. Dudley products was popular, as well as African Pride was popular, Dark and Lovely, and things of that nature. But it was just cool for me to take a trip down memory lane to think about my hair story and all of the things and all of the phases and stages and ages and things that I've tried, hairstyles. Luckily, to God be the glory, I have a pretty flexible face. Like if my hair is long, it's cool. If it's medium, if it's small, only the glory of God, because I didn't have no control over any of this. But I'm pretty versatile and flexible. And because I love fashion, I love colors, I like to switch things up. So it kind of worked for me, but that's not everybody's testimony. But we'll get more into it with the rest of the series. And I even plan to share with you a poem that the Lord blessed me to be able to write and just kind of download it, entitled Beauty-4-Ashes. And I shared it on a previous episode, but it applies with this one as well. I wish I had known then what I know now. How to accept my hair and beauty for what it is, in every age, in every stage of life, and understand that it's just a part of evolution. I think it would have saved a lot of struggles and internal battles. And like I said, noticing how other people's hair was, beautiful heads of hair, and how their hair was different and so on and so forth, how my hair was different. And I would have just known and understood and been able to appreciate the journey and appreciate where I was. So I wish I had done that. And I hope and pray that, the younger girls, teens, whomever are growing up after us, I hope and pray that we pour into them and let them know that they are uniquely beautiful, that they don't have to have hair like someone else or skin like someone else or any figure like someone else, that they can embrace who they are and who God has created them to be without all of the trauma and all of the drama, all of the comparison and envy and strife and jealousy and all of the things that can come into play when you're not secure in who you are, when you don't embrace who you are, when you are insecure about your looks, when you have self-esteem issues and self-image issues and self-worth issues, when you just don't love yourself. And that's just one takeaway that I hope and pray that those of you that are watching and listening get from this. If you're an older woman, pour into those in your family. If you work at a school, if you work at a daycare, if you work wherever, or just out walking through Walmart, wherever, take every opportunity to, even in some cases, call those things that be not as though they were. Do you know that there is some young girl, some teenager, some woman, some female that has never been called beautiful, that has never been seen as attractive, that has never been said, "You're so pretty. I love this about you. I really like that. I wish I had that, or I wish that it came that easy for me, or whatever, or what have you. But it's important that we speak life and into other women. It's important that we genuinely compliment one another. It's important that we, erase all of this competition and all of that. At the end of the day, we're more alike than we are different. So that's just important to know and to note as well. I want you to remember that God and only God has the final say so